This is the World Satsanga on the 24th of November 2012, and we have Lily, Chris, Manny, Joe, Marnie, Alan, Meryl, Jane, Guy, and Anne. And thank you all for being here today. We have an agenda. It's basically letting the Skype stabilise itself. But I'm going to introduce Jane to you all because Jane's, although she's been on the Satsanga for some time and she's been involved with what I'm doing for some time, she has a very special role right now that she's joined us for. So I'll introduce that in a moment. And Jane can say one or two words just to back it up. Just give me a funny face. Then we want to go through the main reason for the agenda, which is basically to go through something called prana or life force. And I have to thank Alan for this this content because we, in essence, we've got this particular subject matter as a result of a question that Alan asked a few weeks ago. So our thanks to Alan for that. It's quite an interesting and important question that needs to be asked, and it's one that a lot of individuals ask about. And the information I got came through from the source as we were speaking this 3 or 4 weeks ago, so it's important that we talk about it. And then we've got some questions and answers. Before we end, we'll do the usual meditation. I'm going to change, although I said here that we have a repeat of the metacontent meditation to raise the frequency of the physical universe, I'm going to change it slightly to introduce a faster method of getting together, but also, because we're getting towards December and this ascension date, I want to just, rather than assist the frequency of the universe, or assist the ascension of the universe, I want to help us all move our own frequencies up as well. Now, also, there's a bit of a prelude for the next Satsanga, which is on the 22nd of December, I believe, which is a Saturday. We're going to, on that date, just have a questions and answers session. So if any of you have any questions, we can go through all of those, and I can try and answer them, and I'll get the source entity to answer them as well, because this will be the day after the ascension date, and there'll be a lot of individuals asking questions the day after the event, so it'll be useful to have this as an opportunity to just have questions and answers based upon what's been experienced, what hasn't been experienced, what expectations have been met or not, as the case may be, and what the direction is after this particular date. Okay, so right, based upon that and the fact that we've got stable condition now and there's no others joined in, those who do join in, by the way, I'll just bring them in silently so that they can just join in as normal, but they'll be silent rather than being introduced. You'll see them on your screens anyway, so that'll be useful. Well, first of all, I just want to introduce you to Jane Barlow. Jane is a very special individual. She was the person who started me off on my spiritual trail again back in 1993, 94. She introduced me back into the spiritual world of Reiki and then progressed from there. Jane's starting to help me now. She's going to, well, in fact, she is my manager from about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and she's sorting me out, making sure that all of the different things that I prefer not to touch are touched and actioned, because clearly I've got the creative side on my side, and there's the business stroke administrative side is something that I recognise has to be done, but I prefer not to. So Jane's going to be sorting all that out.
I'm trying to get it in order. trying to keep it sorted. Yeah. Do every my job.
Yeah. Jane's particularly good at this sort of stuff. She's done a lot of this in the past. She's extremely good at sorting data out and understanding how various trends work. So it's going to be quite a good relationship from that perspective. Okay. Jane will also, as will Anne, be participating in a lot of the workshops, both locally within the UK and, of course, worldwide. In fact, Jane, along with Anne and Peter Kelly, Fiona Trickett, and Richard Valentine, and Chris, of course, yeah, Chris Woods became the first individuals to pass the level 3, and therefore create a permanent, robust, and substantive connection with the source that they can turn on and off as required. So we're really pleased with the performance of this cohort, this first cohort, and each of them provided excellent levels of connectivity and have responded extremely well to the exercises that were part of that day, because it was a very hard and heavy day, wasn't it? It was. So we both enjoyed ourselves, got totally energised out, and
some of us suffered the consequences afterwards.
Headaches afterwards, yeah. But nevertheless, it was a particularly successful day, and everything was met as I envisaged it, and I was really pleased with the outcome. So, shape of things to come, that is, for Alan and Meryl and Joe, and Manny later, and if possible, Lily and Marnie can join in one of the courses later in the States. It'd be fantastic as well. Okay, so what I want to move on to now is this subject of what prana or life force is. Now, again, I'm going to thank Alan for this information, because it was a result of a question from Alan, which had been something that's been on his mind for quite some time, that led to this channeled information happening literally on the hoof as we were talking. And prana and life force is something that we talk about a lot within meditation circles, spiritual circles, Hindu circles in terms of yoga, various different types of yoga, various different religions, and various different healing modalities. So it's depending upon which angle you meet it from, it's either called prana or life force, or just pure energy. But it's much more than that. It's quite an interesting function in terms of how it reacts with us and how it reacts with the rest of the universe. But in terms of that, I'm just going to go through the detail of what was initially recorded as a channel recording, and then was transcribed 2 weeks later, with a view to passing it on to people who were interested in receiving the document. As it happens, it was blogged on my website a couple of weeks ago, so we were able to look at it if you wish, and strip it off if you wish for your own use. It's there for a reason. It's there for public use. So if you go to the website and look under my articles, what is prana or life force, or if you wish me to send it in a PDF file, I can do that after this session, because there's an awful lot there, and it'd be quite easy to miss some of the detail. Anyway, so I'm going to elaborate a little bit as I go along, and also probably go off piste a little bit compared to that which was written down, because there's information that comes through as we speak. The prana or life force is an aspect of something called free energy. Now, I bumped into this piece of terminology, free energy, when I was working with one of the source entities in the book, in the dialogue that's become part of the book Beyond the Source Book 2. And in essence, free energy was something that was alluded to in the description of how triangulation takes place, and how evolution affects the ability for triangulation to take place. Now, I don't understand free energy at all in its entirety, although I am recognising there's two functions of it right now. I shall ask for more clarity during the dialogues that are part of the book that I'm writing right now, which is called The Origin Speaks. But in essence, free energy is everywhere. It pervades, as does event space. It pervades the origin, therefore it pervades our source entity. And it's something which is there that has various different aspects to it and functionalities to it. One of those, as I just described, is based upon evolutionary content, and the ability for evolutionary content to grow when there's a possibility of triangulating the growth of evolution with an individual or group of individuals who are close together or linked together by associations with family, friends, or work colleagues, etc. or just location, for that matter. But free energy from our perspective, this is the human form, this is the incarnate vehicle that we use to experience the lower frequencies of the multiverse, that which we call the physical universe, is in essence something that the physical form uses to perpetuate its existence. We can also call it ki or chi. So depending on which part of the world we come from, we will call it various different things. Prana being one in the Sanskrit, life force in the Western world, ki in Japan, and chi throughout China. As I just said, it's an energy that pervades the origin and is also part of the source sense in its multiverse. It's energy that appears to have not been given function, but is always there for use. And as a result, it's also attracted to the recently just said, the possibility for evolution. So from our perspective, we need to understand that the human form is designed to use this energy in isolation. That is the perpetuation of this human vehicle for the use of evolutionary opportunities through experiencing lower frequencies. And as a result of that, it's used not specifically from the gross physical perspective, but more of the higher physical perspective of the human form, i.e. those frequencies associated with the human form that are above level 3. So we're talking around 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that part of the physical form that doesn't need to metabolize, and by that I mean eat physical foods such as vegetables and animal-based products, uses this to create energy and perpetuate its existence. So it's that part of the physical body that doesn't need to metabolize energy to perpetuate itself. So now, from the perspective of the human form, it assimilates free energy in the higher frequencies associated with it, and these frequency levels are really the higher frequencies associated with the human form. Those are the levels that aren't associated with the gross physical in any way, shape, and form. So that is the spiritual physical as well. So it really only works properly with levels 8, 9, and 10. Those frequency levels that are associated with the human form, which are new news, things that I've discovered myself, and are only really being recognised by spiritualists or mediums or healers who are able to continue their own forward evolutionary condition and spiritual advancement, and therefore ascension process. So it is part of the structure of the human form whilst not being part of it. So it's there to be used, but it's not there as part of the human form. The chakras, by the way, work by funneling it down to usable energies that the human form can work with. So because the chakras are vortices that deal with different frequency sets, each chakra is therefore associated with, and therefore predominantly represented on, the auric layer and the subsequent energies that the associated energies that they are aligned to. So the base chakra, for instance, is associated with the first auric layer, and if you go up further up the tree, the crown chakra is associated with the seventh auric layer. So you can see that these things are associated with that which they're aligned to. So there's those chakras and auric layers in between the first and seventh are subsequently associated with their relevant auric layers energetically and frequentially as well. So they each of the chakras and each of the auric layers work with, assimilate, and aligned to frequency sets that are specific to themselves, rather than dealing with everything. So, if you like, they're narrow band receivers. If you want to use engineering physics, radio physics, if you want to call it, or spectrum analyzer-based physics, they only pick up that which they're designed to receive. So those 7 layers and the seven chakras pick up the subsequent vortices within the chakras only pick up the energy they're supposed to. Now, although the chakras bring in these energies separately, they create a composite energy. So they bring it all together and create an average, if you want to call it that, made up from all those energies received by those chakras that can be used for the human form in its gross physical and spiritual physical aspects. The levels 8, 9 and 10, again which aren't recognised by many spiritualists, can cope with the raw free energy, i.e. as it comes in, it's dealt with as it comes in. It doesn't get metabolised by the chakras. And I use the word metabolised in the spiritual sense here, not the gross physical sense, not the creation of energy based upon oxygen and food and water. So the levels, these levels, these 8, 9 and 10, use this energy as it comes in rather than changing it. But the gross physical needs to work with energy at a certain tolerance. So the chakras therefore create this composite energy, almost like a new energy for the physical human form to work with, to move muscles, energise organs, and provide longevity to assist with the very varying parts of the human form that are not grossly physical. So the human force is therefore a composite energy of a certain frequential bandwidth that is created by the chakras from the energies associated with the 7 energy levels associated with the gross physical and the spiritual physical aspects of the human form. So free energy is the same no matter where it is in the origin or any of its creations, including its creations. And that means that those entities that are able to create, that also create, will also be able to manifest whatever they need to by this free energy. It's everywhere, pervades everything. It's inside and outside everything. It fills the gaps. It is there to provide substance. It's always been there in existence and was there when the origin started to gain its own rudimentary intelligence. Now, one particularly interesting function of free energy is it's totally recyclable. It can never run out, and although we use it from our perspective with the human form, it never gets used. Using it creates function with it and regenerates it. It's like having an electric motor that drives a pulley that rotates an alternator, which generates enough electricity to power the motor and cope with the inherent losses in the system, and subsequently rotate the alternator to create electricity to power the motor. It's the archetypical potential energy machine, basically. It's an energy that can never be used up. In using it, it recreates it. As you use it, you clone it, so to speak. It's one of these things where it's self-correcting and self-organising. Use of it recreates it. That which is used is replaced instantaneously. There is never a deficit. There is never too much free energy. It is always in balance. Okay? So as a singular energy, free energy has a level of rudimentary intelligence, an intelligence that makes it want to be part of itself, even though it is everywhere, pervading the all that is. It's a form of consciousness, although limited in its application. It's one of the basic building blocks of that which is the origin, as is event space, for instance. And it can be separated out, but in doing that, it is also recreated. So even when you separate it out, or even if one separated it out, for instance, if we were clever enough to use a large hadron collider and separate out this free energy and harness it, it would still be within the hadron collider because it would be reproducing itself as it was captured. So, in essence, it's part of the origin structure that is never actually lost. It is always there, irrespective of the amount of it that is used for whatever reason. So, this aspect of free energy has both consciousness and sentience. Its consciousness is the attractivity to self and the recreation of self when used. And the energy that is used with free energy is itself being used, i.e. by the muscles and organs in our condition. That is electricity. So our muscles use electricity. So that is, in essence, the reason that it's there for. It creates electricity for us. It creates the electricity that allows our muscles and our brain to work. Okay? So electricity is a byproduct of its use, actually. So although we use it, we create electricity. That's what happens. So the non-physical aspect of the human form uses this free energy, as do the chakras. They also metabolise it and create this composite energy. But in using it to perpetuate the spiritual, physical, and the purely energetic side of the human form, it creates electricity, and that electricity is used to to power the muscles and the other aspects of the cellular structure, the gross physical aspects of the human form that perpetuates its existence. So its sentience and structure is such that it is a fundamental component, part of the origin, and therefore as a result it maintains the sentient self-aware intelligence that is the origin. So you could argue that that which creates the intelligence and the sentience and the self-awareness that is the origin is actually free energy in some aspect of its functionality, which is an interesting thing to consider. Because if that's the case, then everything we are is also part of the origin, not only just part of the source entity, but also part of the origin, which in essence we are anyway. So, a human body therefore cannot function without this life force energy. When that aspect of our true energetic self moves away from the human form to return to oneness, that is, the body demises and we return back to the energetic, and the human form subsequently dies, all of the free energy, the life force or prana that is associated with the human form removes itself and recycles itself because it's attracted to itself. So all of the energetic structure that was part of the human form, i.e. the plexuses, the hara, the chakras, and that's all of the chakras, the major, the minor, the mini, the auric layers and the meridians, i.e. the energetic veins, including those higher energies, all disappear and they all become free energy again in its purest sense. So the gross physical aspect of the human form should be used for the benefit of other incarnate entities of any form factor. However, even if the gross physical is cremated, and this is what happens a lot within the Western world and the Eastern worlds, the energy is regained and converted back into free energy, including that used as an accelerant, such as gas or logs in a funeral pyre, that we use to convert it back into that which it was. So when a human body is buried, the energy converts back to free energy in a different way. It's converting the free energy back into the earth via the decomposition process. Of course, there's a waste process involved in this instance, however, and that is identified as the time taken to decompose. The longest time being the decomposition of the skeleton, which can take thousands of years. And we know this because we've got lots of archaeologists who dig up skeletons and they're a couple of thousand years old. And we even have lots of dinosaurs that we dig up that are thousands of years old. So that tells you that the process of regaining the free energy from some of the physical form does take an awful long time. So when incarnate, mankind evolves to the point where we are more in control of ourselves, we'll be able to deconstruct our physical form, reconverting it back into free energy at will. And we'll have this when we've experienced that which we've planned to experience in the physical frequencies. I.e., basically, when we've experienced everything we need to experience as an incarnate individual, and we don't need to experience any more, we can dissolve the physical form at will. So rather than going through the rather indignant process sometimes of aging, and going through all of the various different aspects of aging, such as dysfunction, disease, and in some instances mental conditions, we could simply just dissolve the physical body, returning it back into the free energy that it was. So we wouldn't need to specifically go through those indignant processes associated with the aging process. So this method can also be used to create instantaneous transportation of the physical vehicle that we classify as teleportation. So when we are energetic, we can move or recreate the location of our sentience to any location or position within the multiverse by focusing our intention to be in that location that we desire to be in. So that all that is us here can be us elsewhere, because we are assigning the intention of us here to be us elsewhere through the association of free energy with the life force or prana that pervades everything. So in essence, we use this free energy to transportate ourselves, or should I say our intelligence, our awareness, that which is us in the energetic, anywhere we want to, around the multiverse. Now, in the epoch of higher frequency existence on the Earth, and this is a long, long time ago, before any of our mythologies or legendary stories have come into existence, the energetic side of us that was projected into the physical frequencies could have, should it wish to do so, take the physical form anywhere it desired, because it was a much higher frequency. The frequencies associated with the current form make this difficult by anybody other than a true master. And we do have instances where true masters, specifically dedicated yogis, do something called bilocation, where they can literally clone part of their physical form and take it with them elsewhere within the confines of the Earth's environment. So if we reconsider the gross physical aspect of the human form should be used for the benefit of other incarnate entities following an early demise, and that brings into play what happens when organs are used for transplants, we have to be a bit careful here. To be useful, organs need to be full of life force, so they can be usable, and they need to be removed almost immediately after death. However, this means that the transplantee receives the organ and the life force that is associated with another entity, which causes compatibility problems. And one of those compatibility problems is the need to use drugs to stop the autoimmune system from rejecting, for instance, hearts or livers or kidneys, etc. But there's also something else involved with this, where we take some part of the personality, the energetic signature of the incarnate entity with that particular organ that's being transplanted, and that also gets transplanted within the energy field of the receiving individual who's receiving that, the transplantee, as it were, the person who's receiving the new kidney or liver. So, in essence, life force needs 3 days to leave the physical body, so that the organ, for instance, that's being transplanted, would need to be left for 3 days. But the problem is, even if we freeze it wouldn't work with a new host, because the life force, the free energy, would have left, would have gone. Because in three days, any residual energies, or life force energies, or energetic function that is part of our true energetic selves, that's been projected into the physical, returns back to the energetic, and the free energy returns back into the multiverse, if you want to call it that. So in essence, life force needs to be part of the organ during the original conception, and is not possible to reanimate. So walk-ins can work, however, because the body is swapped and reassigned energetically between incarnate energies within these 3 days. So when we get walk-ins and people say, oh, I've experienced a walk-in, or somebody else is a walk-in, that's because the physical form has had a special piece of process attributed to it to allow the energetic signature of the departing soul or spirit or energy to move out of that, but with a dovetailed effect of the new energies coming into it. And when there's a critical mass of the new energies coming into it, the dovetail of the previous energy can then be released, allowing the physical form to continue with the life force that's there, or prana that's there, but from a different and unique energetic entity taking part of it. So, but all of this would need to happen within 3 days of the original demise of, or within 3 days of the desire to change spirits, as it were, or souls between that which is the physical and that which they've come from. So that really is quite an in-depth description of what prana or life force is. Now, I'm quite aware that there's much more to this, and I will be communicating with the origin to understand in some greater detail what free energy what is and what its functions are, other than that which I've gained as a result of the communication with one of the source entities in Beyond the Source Book 2, and that with this which was channeled between myself and our own source entity as a result of that question that Alan gave us a few weeks ago. But does anybody have any questions on this? Because it's actually quite an in-depth quite an in-depth piece of information there, even though, from my perspective, it doesn't answer all the questions.
Okay.
Yes, Mammy.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about the prana, it manifests things. Why are people not able to manifest things? Is it because they can't concentrate the power?
Two reasons.
You know, when you mentioned manifesting.
Yeah.
Like with prana.
Yeah.
Why can't people manifest things?
Yeah.
Is it because they don't know how to concentrate the energy?
Yeah. So there's two reasons to that. Okay. Firstly, there's the belief system, if you want to call it that, or the experiential knowledge system, which isn't there, because when we are from the point of conception almost, we have an aspect of our true energetic self associated with the physical form. Now, from the point of conception, the physical form and the energy associated with it starts to accrue a database of knowledge based upon that which it picks up from the mother and the father, and those energies associated with the friends, peer groups and colleagues that the mother and the father are associated with. And then later when when the baby is born, there's more programming that goes on. The database is growing and bigger and bigger and bigger by exposure to other individuals with other different belief sets. In essence, what happens is we start to get programmed into only recognising certain levels of functionality that we can achieve whilst in the physical. We don't recognise that we come from anywhere else. All we recognise is that we are born and we die, and we have to achieve certain things as a result of that which we are told we need to achieve by our parents, and that which we feel we need to follow as part of our association with our peer groups, i.e. our friends or colleagues. So we start to get programmed in a rather limited way from the point of conception. So that means we don't recognise that which we can do. The level of, shall I say, disbelief of that which can be achieved is so deeply ingrained that it's almost impossible to, without extreme teaching and devoted work, lifetimes work in most cases, we can't achieve that which we can naturally achieve or should be naturally be able to achieve. On the second aspect, which is two-pronged actually, it relies upon the individual's evolutionary process as well, and how they're evolving whilst incarnate. And if they're evolving whilst they're incarnate, then they're able to move up the frequencies, and as a result of moving up the frequency, they access higher frequency functionality. Now, when they can access higher frequency functionality, then they can start to work with that which they previously believed they can't. So it's almost like turning your radio on and only being able to reach certain frequency levels or certain radio stations. But when you buy a new radio, like a digital radio rather than an analog radio, you're able to access frequencies that are in the gigahertz range rather than the megahertz or kilohertz range that you can achieve with the analog radio. So you start to be able to access more content, as it were, more data. But on top of that, in our radio example, the digital radio has a lot more bandwidth, as it were, and so therefore a lot more functionality can be overlaid on the signal that's received by the receiver. So we get things like RDS data, where we can see what channels being presented to us, who's presenting, what the genre of the song is, who the group who's playing the song is, and what particular, how long it is, and you can move it backwards and forwards. So, and save it and download it. And that's the same with us when we're evolved, and when we can access higher frequencies as a result of the higher evolutionary content, and therefore ascension through frequencies, we start to get able to access higher functionality. So that's the reason why most individuals cannot manifest that which they are, should I say, or should be able to. Does that make sense? It's quite a it's quite a deep answer to what appeared to be a very simple question.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions on that at all?
Hi, Gary. This is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Have you been able, if I may ask, to manifest using this energy as you described?
I'm going to use the word manifestation in quite a wide way. In terms of creating physicality out of thin air, the answer is no. In terms of creating conditions or events or opportunities, the answer is yes. So the level of creativity is dependent upon that which we need. Now, arguably, creating physical form out of the air is certainly achievable and is potentially useful, but it's a bit what's the word for it? It's a bit on the fantastic side. It brings attention to one, and as a result of that, it would link one even more to the lower frequencies, because we would be manifesting that which is a lower frequency manifestation, rather than the higher frequency manifestation, which isn't specifically gross physical. Does that make sense, Joe?
Well, it does, but it raises the question on my mind is, what is the difference between what you've described and what I experience, which is that I do light work. I send light to people, I send light to situations, I can almost sense sometimes when something is happening. Or am I using this energy without realizing it?
Both. I'm just trying to get a better answer for you. When you're doing your light work and you're using your intention to provide energy or light or better circumstance or healing or whatever other modality that you're using, you are creating a channel for that energy to be used in a particular way. That particular way isn't specifically gross physical at all. In fact, most of what you've told me is particularly energetic, and so therefore is a higher function. Now, when you are receiving feedback that you are projecting energy, i.e. you might get tingles in your hands, you might get hot, you might get pressures appearing around the periphery of your skull or your forehead, you may get certain emotional content, or you might even start to hear various different things within your middle ear, such as tinnitus, that sort of stuff. It means that you are working at a higher frequency, and your gross physical body is also being pulled up to that higher frequency, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't be able to sense it. So from that perspective, you are in fact manifesting and creating, but that manifestation and creation is on a higher frequency level. The fact that you're picking it up means that you are elevating your physical form, albeit automatically, to that level to do it, and that's as a result of your intention to do it, in terms of the creation of the healing, or the sending light, or the sending energy to, or the sending good thoughts to, and good vibrations to, and love to those that you're projecting it to.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions here? So we've Marnie, do you have any questions on this? Prana?
Yes, guy.
No, sorry. Is that Chris?
Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. I had an experience 3 years ago. I said a healing angel prayer, and I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and my body was vibrating very, very fast. And it started from my toes, and it went up to my nose, and it was just vibrating very fast, the whole body, and it felt blissful. As it got to my nose, I got a wee bit doubtful, and I said, I'm scared now, and then it stopped completely. And I'm just wondering, what kind of energy healing was that? Was that like a spiritual healing, or a physical healing, or emotional healing, or what kind of energy was that? It was a healing prayer from God, called Prayer by Healing Angels. It's a very profound thing, you know, that I've never felt my body vibrate like that before. What kind of energy is it?
It's actually quite low frequency energy, because your physical form has responded to it. But having said that, though, because it was all over your body, and from what I was picking up when you were saying it, it was a consistent frequency, a consistent vibration that you were experiencing. I would classify it as a balancing energy, sort of consistent with that which energy healers who've done the Brennan Healing Science workshops would call basic chelation, where we balance the energies throughout the physical form, including the chakras and the auric layers. So the fact you felt your body vibrating, or you felt like tingles all over, means that you were getting a balancing of energies, because you may have had a dysfunctional level of energy, and you may have been out of balance, or had different aspects of your physicality operating on different levels, or not receiving energy because of blockages, etc. And as a result of your intention to be healed, and using a mantra such as the prayer, you have invoked the opportunity to be healed, and therefore the physical form that you are in responded to that level of healing, which was clearly a frequentially based healing process.
The same energy as prana.
It will have been, yeah. I mean, prana is life force, and life force is energy, and energy is part of free energy, and that which we are is all part of that. So you would have had a certain frequential aspect of that prana, if you want to call that, yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay. Lily, do you have a question? Oh, can you speak up, Lily? Because I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'll just turn the volume up. Yes. Okay.
Why are big guys? We have this frequency and the energy right.
So sorry. Why? Can you repeat it, please, Lily? Because I missed the first bit.
Why our bodies die?
Why do our bodies die? Our physical bodies die? Because we let them. As part of the I'm going to use the word negative here, although as we know there's no such thing as negativity, there's only whatever's there. Because of so-called negative programming, as I've just described in one of the previous questions, we are also programmed to believe that the body grows and demises. And we are so engrossed in that belief system that we actually kill ourselves, which is a bit of a dichotomy, really, because in essence we don't want ourselves, we don't want our physicality to die. In our ignorance of the greater reality, we want our physicality to perpetuate itself ad infinitum. But in essence, because we are so programmed by everything and everyone around us into believing and therefore associating intention to the supposed fact that the physical body dies, then we make it get old, get dysfunctional, get diseases, and die. It's part of a group or a collective dysfunctional process that suggests that we actually do create our own demise, from that perspective. It's only when we have a greater understanding, a greater experiential understanding of the greater reality, that we realise that actually we can control our physical bodies. Should we give ourselves time to meditate in the depth required and work with the energies at depth required to ensure that we can reverse all of this adverse belief system, then we can perpetuate the human form for as long as we needed to. In essence, and in fact, a lot of yogis, certainly in India, have managed and have mastered their particular thought processes so that their physical forms don't demise. they stay at a certain age profile, and that age profile is specific to the age of the physical form when they achieved enlightenment. Now, even more adept individuals, such as Babaji, even Krishna, because Krishna was Babaji in another incarnate sense, could perpetuate the human form and change its age-based appearance. So it could appear as being extremely young and beautiful, or extremely old and haggard, because they were in total control of the physicality that they were inhabiting. So, yeah, that's the reason why the human form dies, because we actually make it die by agreeing with and collaborating with false information that we create an experiential reality with. Does that help, Lily?
Yeah, it did. Thanks.
Okay. So we've had questions from everybody apart from Marnie and Alan and Merrill.
Well, Guy, I want to chime in real quick. It's Marnie here, and I have a friend with me today. So I wanted to, on that same token that Lele talked about, ask a question so aside from death, let's go back a step and talk about disease and pain. How can we use this free energy? How can we harness our own tools to use this free energy to self-heal?
There are certain self-aware elements that we can tap into. There are certain taught elements we can tap into, and there are certain, should I say, built-in knowledge elements we can tap into as well that we never lose, but we just forget about. In essence, when we're taught to work with energies for healing processes, such as doing Reiki, such as doing reconnection, such as doing Brennan healing science, and all the different types of aspects of healing modality, these can, in the right hands and with the right level of skill, be used to heal the physical form from the energetic downwards. Clearly, if we are inexperienced, we would need to potentially use both what we call traditional medicine, which is the use of drugs and affecting healing on the physical form from that end, whilst also affecting healing on the energetic. Most dysfunctional energies, such as those that create cancers, tumours, viruses, etc., are all based around energetic dysfunction, whether it's dysfunctional thought processes or dysfunctional habits that we create and use whilst we are incarnate, or some of those that we bring with us as part of our addiction to the lower frequency aspect of the physicality we call the earth plane. So, in essence, we can teach ourselves by being aware of that which is wrong with us, if we, through introspection and meditation, can identify within ourselves that part of us which is dysfunctional, why it's dysfunctional, and how it can maintain its true balance, then we can affect healing on ourselves that way. That takes a certain type of individual with a certain type of dedication and a certain type of commitment to meditate in a rigorous and repeatable process, on a rigorous and repeatable, should I say, time base, i.e. every day, twice a day, for example. However, we can, as I just said, learn how to do this through various different healing modalities, and we can use these healing modalities to heal ourselves. You know, the Reiki, the Brennan healing science, the reconnection, and all those different types of energies that are being used. But on top of that, we can also use certain yogic techniques to help us as well. Lots of pranayama-based exercises actually can be used to re-energize and reactivate the correct flow of energies throughout the spiritual, physical, and pure energetic aspect of the human form. And if we can do that, then we don't need to learn any healing modalities, because we are achieving a balance which negates dysfunctional energetic and frequential activity, and therefore stops the promulgation of that dysfunction down to the lower frequencies that we call the gross physical. And in essence, if they're corrected, the gross physical then can and does affect healing or recovers and goes back to what it should be. And there are stories, and there are both physical and spiritual evidence to show that certain individuals have been able to affect miraculous recoveries from certain diseases, and certain diseases that were very terminal. Does that help, Marnie?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
If it doesn't answer the question, because I know you got a guest there, and hi to the guest, and thanks for coming. It's important to get the message across in a way which is fully understandable. So if there's any aspect of that you didn't understand, or your guest didn't understand, then please let me know, and we can work on that. If the questions don't come up now, you can always email me, of course, and I'll send a response to that email within a few days.
Thank you, Guy. Yes, I think we're clear. But if things do come up, I've emailed you before. I'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Alan and Meryl. Ooh. Has anybody got their microphone on? They shouldn't do. We're getting some background noise. Yeah. Alan, you there?
There we go.
Oops. Hello. Do you have any questions?
I think I disconnected us by mistake. So we're on now. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, sure.
This is Alan. Great. And Merle's here too, my sister.
Hi, Meryl.
Hey, Dan. My love to Anne.
Yes, and she sends it back. She's always delighted to hear about you, and loves talking to Alan about you.
Good.
Guy, we talked both about prana or life force and free energy. Going back to the level of source entity and the origin, are these two types of energy, are they the same energy that was with the origin and with prime source that they use?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same then at a higher frequency, we might say.
Yeah, I mean, in essence, it's the same. It's the same frequency, but there are various different aspects of that energy at different levels. It's almost like I'm just getting a rather simplistic diagrammatic explanation.
Thank you.
It's almost like if we consider water as being an energy of a certain frequency, H2O.
Yes.
Hydrogen and two oxygen molecules together. When they are exposed to or are working at a certain frequency, it's either a gas,
yes,
or a water, or ice, depending upon the frequency associated with it. So it's either very, very low frequency, which is ice, which would be the energy associated with that type of free energy that we use, as a simplistic example. Or if we go higher up the frequencies, it would become the water stage, the higher frequency. It's no longer as solid as it should be. It's flexible, it's pliable, it permeates a few things, but in a different way. And then if you take it even higher, it becomes a gas, or even less than a gas, trace elements, that sort of stuff. And
right.
So it depends upon the frequency, but it's nevertheless the same energy, but with a different frequential aspect.
Thank you. That's great. Now, there must be then a connection of this life force or this free energy, life energy, a connection to our intention, which would be a form of thought and will and focus. So there has to be a connection because, as Joe mentioned, he would pray for others, he would send light to a situation,
This is a thought process, a will process, an energy focus, intentional. That's what I wanted to say, intentional process. And yet, that would be connected, that would automatically connect to what we're calling life energy or free energy, because the light that he would be sending would be a form of that energy. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. But it's a bit more than that, though. It's because he's intending to use or intending to send in a selfless way energy to others for the benefit of others, then the free energy gets attracted to that intention and therefore follows that intention to where it's supposed to go to.
That is beautiful. And then where does love come in on this? We often say that light is unconditional love, and unconditional love is light. Where does this come in the intention that the life force then attracts the free energy? How would you connect? How would that be an act of love as well?
I don't know. Since I'm part of the conversation, I'll simply give my perspective and I'll let Guy talk.
Yeah, carry on.
Okay, my focus is light. I don't think of light and love as being the same thing, but I don't actually know what the difference is. And for the record, I haven't prayed for a long time. I send light. I gather light. I do. It's the oddest thing. Of course, I use the source entity and the origin, but still, I am no longer asking. Instead, I am doing by sending light. I'll leave it at that.
The intention to use the word light, or the thought process around light, invokes higher frequency responses, because we recognize light as being a higher frequency aspect of physicality. It's fast moving, it's intangible, it's difficult to get a hold of, it's something that spiritists recognize as being a higher frequency functional response. So from that perspective, that thought process, and the thought process and the intention process around it naturally assumes the use of a higher frequency aspect of free energy. So, going back to the link between love and this, when one is sending light or sending healing or sending nice thoughts or good thoughts or best wishes and other things like that, one is doing it out of two functions. One is the underlying recognition of oneness. We are all part of the same entity, we're all part of the same energies, we're all part of the same creator. So naturally, we recognize those other individuals who are incarnate, who are suffering, or the environment that's suffering, as an innate aspect of ourselves, which we naturally, to use an English word, love. We are in love with it. We desire its perpetuation. We want it to exist in its optimal, most efficient, most delightful way. So when we do send energies that way, then we do it out of a sense of oneness. Now, love is a very poor way, I would say, of mankind's method of using words to describe how we feel when we are experiencing collectivity or oneness, whether it's two individuals within that collectivity, or 10 or 20 or 30 or 100 or 5,000. It's this knowingness that we are one together, even though we don't recognise it or understand it. It's this need to be part of or work with another that is classified as love. But actually, it's experiencing that which we normally experience in the bliss state when we are part of the energetic, in our disincarnate state. So, if you like, love is a poor way of explaining that which we experience or that which we are in when we are in a state of oneness with others, either disincarnate or incarnate. and the projection of energy or love or the desire to be oneness with others, to experience this level of collective consciousness, bliss, whichever way you want to describe it, is also a part of the need to experience oneness and to be part of the oneness of those others who are either in ignorance of the ability to be in oneness or love, or are susceptible to or need to have it as part of their healing process. And when there are those individuals, including the environment, nature, that are in distress, and we feel distress through empathic association with these individuals, the environment, then we choose to repair that environment, and therefore we use desire for it to be fixed, to be put back into its balanced state, to be functioning perfectly. And in our desire for it to do that, we are, in our intention, sending its balancing energy, and in doing that we are becoming part of it or one with it, and that creates this loving state, this blissful state. Because we are in doing that becoming part of it and one with it. Does that help, Alan and Joe?
Thank you so much, Guy. That was beautiful. I really appreciate that.
It's a bit of a difficult answer.
Well, that was such a broad question, but there were several keys there, and I thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
No, I think it was a perfect answer for me.
Thank you. Joe, does it help you?
I didn't quite follow everything, and actually, I like that. I like the fact that I can't quite follow everything. It takes a little growing, I guess. But thank you, Guy, for your words.
Well, that's the beauty of having it recorded as well. You can come back to it later and mull it over and chew it over. Actually, sometimes it's best not to take it all in one go. Sometimes it's best to take aspects of it and do it slowly. Yeah? Yeah, it's best to do it, eating an elephant in chunks is the way to do it. We need to be able to just take on board little bits and pieces in a way that we'll understand and robustly understand, and maintain that level of understanding, and then build upon that. So it's sometimes it's best to do that in the first place. Jane's got a question.
I have. Not quite as in depth as some of the others. You talk about when body dies and there's a transplant, the heart, etc., gets given to another body. What happens to that person who's died? Now they've lost part of their energy if they reincarnate. Because in effect they've given part of their energy away.
That's a good question. I'm just asking the question about it. Actually, I was getting this with the answer as you was asking the question. One, there's usually a large enough length of time between being disincarnated and being reincarnated to allow the association with the physical body that the transplant's gone into to be removed because of the natural demise process of that body through old age anyway, or accident, as the case may be. But in essence, when disincarnate and the aspect of the physicality that has been passed on to another physicality has happened, then there's a number of things happen. One, there's been an agreement to do it anyway, pre-incarnation. And two, because there's a level of energy left behind with that organ that's gone across to the donee from the donor, then you've almost got a partial walking condition, because the energy that's there in the transplanted organ is energy from the entity that was associated with the physical form that had died in accident or disease or whatever. So some aspect of that entity that is still associated with that organ goes across to the receiving physical form, and collects incarnate data, as it were, on behalf of that entity, which is no longer associated with the first form, but as part of that form, transplanted into the second form. Does that help? Mm-hmm. So, in effect, what we get there is a possibility for partial personality change, because there's an aspect of the personality of the transplantee going into the transplanted, and there's also an aspect of, even though you've got potential physical compatibility, you will get energetic incompatibility as well. So some of those energetic incompatibilities need to be dealt with well, either energy-based work, or in our ignorance we use drugs that retard the autoimmune system, so that organ is rejected. Does that help?
Yeah. So it's a little bit like going back to when you said about one of our first, the Source Entity's first experiments in creating us on the world, where they were allowed at will to swap bodies. Yes. But we're doing it, but unknowingly. Yeah.
You leave an aspect of yourself behind, and therefore that newly incarnating entity, or the one that shuffles across from one physical form to the physical form, not only takes on board a little bit of aspect of the previous incumbent entity, but also leaves an aspect of themselves. So when the next one comes along, it takes on board two aspects plus itself. Yeah. And it grows and grows and grows. Yeah.
Which can cause confusion.
Which causes confusion and problems. Yeah. So.
Guy Nazalin, I'm wondering, as the host of that energy, the person who had the accident and from whom the organ was taken, as that host life energy withdraws from the original form or body, would it also then pull the life energy out of the organ that was donated, and maybe the donee energy would then come into it, and it would just be over a period of time?
I'm picking up that doesn't happen.
Okay.
There's always an aspect of the previous entity's energy in it. Otherwise, because it's been tuned to, it's grown up with, it's been created by the process of association from the point of conception and preconception. So it's, even though it's donated and has been transplanted, it will never take on board the energies associated with the new body, the new host body. It always maintains the energies associated with the first incarnate. Well, Manny, you've left your microphone, and we hear your squeaky door.
Yeah, I just had to get you to that.
Okay. Too much data.
Yeah.
So does that help, Ellen, at all?
Yes, it does. That's amazing.
Yeah. As
maybe you don't really want to donate your organs.
Well, it's interesting because as you asked the question, the information came through. I was quite surprised at the answer, and actually, it sort of correlates with a deep-seated and deep-rooted feeling I've had almost forever, that you really shouldn't be donating your organs, unless there's been some deal that's happened pre-incarnation where.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think I once told you the story of it was printed in a magazine or a newspaper. Elderly woman received the transplant of a heart of a young motorcyclist who was just killed, and she suddenly had, just after the operation, shortly after, she had such a great craving for hamburgers and cigarettes and jazz music.
Fast bikes.
It's never been a part of her before.
Yeah. Isn't that a superb physical proof, the example, physical example of that, which is actually happening when you do receive a transplant from another host, is that you do take on board the energetic aspects of that host.
Hey guys.
Hi Chris.
Find out the 98. Can I put my name down for your heart?
I'm told I'm going to 96. So you're okay.
All right. Okay.
So, I know exactly how I'm going to die. It's just going to walk in from outside, lie down in my settee, never sleep, and that's it. I'm out.
Go after, eh?
I know exactly how I'm going. I've seen it. So then, does anybody have any last questions before we go into the end of meditation?
I wanted to ask you, how would you use prana energy force to bring in its physical body at all times? Or if you have disease or a low energy disease that are compatible.
Yeah, can you repeat the first part of that, Lily? Because I was having to increase the volume to catch up with you. It's a bit low.
How would you bring prana force energy into your body on a consistent basis to keep the balance?
Okay, I've got you now. So the question is, how would we bring in higher frequency energy into the physical form on a consistent basis to maintain the balance, and therefore make us more or more susceptible to longevity, as it were. Well, basically, one of the things that I think is very useful is pranayama. Pranayama techniques are very, very good. They perpetuate the energies. They force the energies around the energetic Venus system that are there. Those meridians that join the chakras together in the major, minor, and mini chakras. So using pranayama techniques are particularly good. So if you want to look at some of the yogic techniques that are there. Also, you can imagine if you sit and meditate and you breathe in, you can imagine energies coming into your body through, for instance, your crown chakra. And as you breathe out, it comes into the body, goes around the whole body, and then breathes out and goes out through your feet, for instance. So you can breathe it in through the crown chakra and breathe out through your feet. So all the energy comes in through the top and then goes out through the bottom. As one particular example, there's lots of different ways of doing this, clearly. But if you was to sit down and breathe and imagine the energies coming in and then going out as you breathe out, you will notice that you'll start to feel that energy flow as well. So that's one particular way which works well, actually, is sitting down, meditating, breathing, paying attention to the breathing, and then imagine the energies coming in to, again, the crown chakra and leaving through the bottom of the feet, having energized all the body. And you'll start to feel the energy coming in and promulgating around the body and going down towards the feet and leaving the feet. And that's one way you can do it. That's a good way of bringing energy in and replenishing that energy as well. Okay. Good.
Gary,
Oops.
a beautiful thing Paramahansa Yogananda said. He said, a sincere smile sends cosmic energy to every body cell.
Ah, okay. So that's another way of doing it, Lily, is to smile. Smile with sincerity.
Yeah, coming from the heart. Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand that, because then you've got once you're smiling, you're in a state of acceptance and bliss with that bliss and harmony with that which is around you. Somebody once said that there's more muscles required to frown than there is to smile. So why waste energy on frowning? So yeah, I mean, just thinking bright thoughts as well will also attract high frequency energy to you. Not thinking ill of anybody, always thinking that somebody's also on their evolutionary path of doing the best they can do with what they've got around them, and recognising that, and then, as Joe does every day, send them energy, even though you might not particularly like them. You know, just send them energy and say, oh, you know, I recognise that you're on the same path as me. Have some energy, and in doing so, you also create energy for yourself, because you invoke higher thought processes, and therefore you invoke higher frequencies. And invoking higher frequencies, you invoke a level of evolutionary content, and invoking evolutionary content, you attract free energy. So that's another way of doing it. Okay, so we're looking at the time here. We've run over again. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to finish off with a meditation that is slightly different to what we've done previously, but nevertheless is going to accelerate our own evolutionary content and frequential content, and will allow us to move together in meta-concert faster than we have done previously. So what I'd like you to do is to sit comfortably, if you can, in a chair which is comfortable, but nevertheless going to allow you to have your feet flat on the ground, your small of your back in the corner, the right angle corner of the back of the chair, and your spine erect, your eyes closed and focused upon that area on the forehead that's associated with the third eye, or the spiritual eye, which is in between the two eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose. And then the palms of the hands should be pointing uppermost, and the top of the hand should be placed on the thigh, where the thigh meets the lower part of the body. Okay. Okay. So rather than coming in one by one, I'd like you all to just imagine you're in a room just with me. So, in essence, what we will do is, if you're all holding my right hand with your left hand, then you'll be overlaid on me instantaneously rather than creating a circle, which also creates a meta-concert condition, a synergetic condition, where we're all working together in the same methodology in the same way for the same cause. So just all imagine that your left hand is holding my right hand in the same room, this white room that we've always been in. Okay, and we're just sitting down together with two chairs close by to each other, and your left hand is holding my right hand. I'm not going to go around the circle saying that whose left hand's got whose right hand. Just going to imagine that you're all using your left hand to hold my right hand. Okay. And very, very simply, what I want you to do is to mentally get up out of your chair and walk with me out of the door that you would see in front of you, that would be actually directly in front of you, in a wall in front of you. And we walk hand in hand outside of this door, and we go into a corridor. We're going to use a similar piece of visualization that we use in the workshops for moving up and down the frequencies. And I want you to imagine the door in front of you that's got two steel doors, the sort of steel doors that you see in a lift. So push the button that calls the lift, and the button lights up. And then you hear a ping, and the doors open, and there's a lift beyond those doors. So I want you to walk beyond those doors and turn around so that you're facing the outside. Your body's, your imaginary body, your physical body that's in your mind, is inside the lift, and you've turned around, and the doors are still open, but you're looking through where the doors would be. Now I want you to just allow the doors to close. You can push the door to force the doors to close if you wanted to. Push that button that allows the doors to close in a forced way. So we're all in the same lift, all overlaid upon each other. Because we're all in the same space at the same time, the same event space, the same multiversal space within the same event space, and we're all working towards the same thing, we set up this synergetic multiplication factor, which in essence multiplies us by 9. Or if you used to add Anne, who's upstairs listening in, 10. So it's 10 by 10. So there's 100 of us, or the effect of 100 individuals working together energetically, a part of this work that we're doing right now. So what I want you to do is just look at the keypad, and you'll look at, there'll be lots and lots of numbers there. Look for the one that says 100. And push that button. And the lift rises fairly quickly. It goes from 0 to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 25 to 30 to 35 to 40, 45 to 50 to 55 to 60 to 65 to 70 to 75 to 80 to 85 to 90, 95, and then finishes on 100. Now I want you to just stay there for a moment and just do a bit of introspection. Use what we call the observer self and just observe how your body feels. Do you have any tingles? Do you have any tinnitus in your ears? Do you have any pressure-based feelings around the periphery of your skull, or around your third eye area, or your forehead area, or on top of your head by your crown chakra area? Do you feel tightness in the muscles at the front of the rib cage? Or do you feel hot? Or do you feel tingly? Or do you feel certain emotional content? Any of these and others, anything that's different from that which you felt when you first started this meditation, is proof that you've moved an aspect of yourself, you've projected your consciousness up to this 100th level. This 100th frequency level is within the physical multiverse. So I want you to just sit there for a moment. And whilst we're here, we're going to ask the Source to engulf all of us together. We're overlaid, one on top of each other in the same space. But we're going to ask the Source to project white light, because we like white light, over us both, or all of us is there. And that this light is high frequency energy, or that which we've been discussing, free energy, or aspect of free energy. Just imagine this free energies cascading over you, a bit like the water out of a shower. As we accept this energy, we do two things. One, we're perpetuating our frequential level by being on this level 100. We also, in doing so, invoke the energies associated with the source to become part of us in a more in-depth way. Clearly we are part of the source because the source is part of us, we're part of the source and we are the source. But let's just make ourselves recognise that we are and pick up the energies associated with the source. In doing so, we raise our frequencies, the frequentiality of our physical form is raised in the process. Just bask in that light and the higher frequency that goes with it. We're still in this lift, we're still at level 100, we're just asking the source to give us this light. And to make ourselves feel like we're one with the source, because we are one with the source, we were created by the source using the source's energies. And of course those energies are of course part of the origins makeup as well, so we're all part of the same entity itself. Now I want you to hold on to that feeling. Just keep that feeling. Keeping the feeling, keeping the intention on the feeling allows us to maintain that frequency level associated with that feeling and the level we've been to, which is 100. And now just push the button for 0 and we come back down to 0 again. Try and maintain that feeling you've got at level 100 whilst you're coming down. You come down 95 to 90 to 85 to 80 to 75 to 70 to 65 to 60 to 55 to 50 to 45 to 40, 35 to 30, 25 to 20, 15 to 10 to 5, and now we're on the 0 level. And now press the button to open the doors, still paying attention to and still feeling that high frequency response. Move out of the lift, walk across the corridor, back into the room where you first took my right hand with your left hand. So just hang on to that feeling. And then just let go of my right hand with your left hand. And then use your intention to bring your attention back to that room that you're in right now, where your physical form is. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. But still focus on maintaining that high energy content. Yeah? Feel it? Good. So in doing that, you've raised your base frequencies, which is a technique that you can use, Lily, on a daily basis, should you wish to do so. But if you, by intending to hang on to that feeling of that higher frequency, you also keep that higher frequency as well. Okay. How do you all feel? Yeah, good. How do you feel, Chris?
This is.
Yeah.
Feel like God. Right.
Feel like God. Well, you are God.
No, I feel that the way.
Good.
Awareness.
Good. Excellent. Chris, how do you feel?
very light and
Good.
high.
Good. That's how you should feel. Excellent. Okay. Lily, you're okay with it? You still feel very...
I feel very good, and I just wanted to stay there a little longer and talk to Source, you know?
Well, yes, you can do so.
Okay, I will.
Good. Good.
Can I just say, I got the tingle feeling, got the pressure in my skull.
Good. Good, good feedback. Excellent. Joe, how are you?
I got the tingle feeling in my left hand, like I do sometimes when I'm doing my light work. So that was good. It was a good exercise.
Exercise, excellent. Keep thinking of those physical responses, and that pulls you up to that level. By the way, Marnie, how are you? And your guest.
I'm good. I actually had a different response that I've had before. You ever jump on a trampoline and then try to walk?
Yeah.
I feel that's the way I haven't gotten up, but that's the way I felt when we started coming down the elevator.
Good. Excellent. Good. Alan, how are you?
Oh, yes, thank you. Right there with you, Guy.
Good.
And deeply appreciate this experience. And Merle's been nodding the whole time with everybody's comments and smiling. And
good.
So I know she did too.
Good, good. Thank you. Jane, how do you feel?
Good.
Nice and good?
Yeah.
Good, excellent.
Woman of very few words.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of this particular Satsanga. As advertised, we're going to have mostly a questions and answers session on the 22nd of December, but I'm also going to slip in there a little explanation about 3-tier ascension as well, which I'll try to keep short, sharp and concise to the best of my ability. But nevertheless, it'll help to explain how things are working with the physical vehicle and the ascension of the physical vehicle and what's going on in the background. So we'll explain that as part of our Satsanga before Christmas, and it'll also be extremely appropriate because we'll be the Mayan calendar plus one, and Ascension plus one as well. So it'll be an interesting thing to discuss and to work with. Okay, well, based on that, thank you very, very much, and look forward to working with you all again, and we'll see or hear you all on the 22nd of December. Thank you very much, and God's love, blessings and God's love with you and the Master.
Did you see the aliens in Crete?